It's election day in Ghana, and voters in the West African nation are casting their ballots to elect a new president and parliament in one of Africa's most stable democracies.
A tight race is expected between incumbent President John Dramani Mahama and main opposition challenger Nana Akufo-Addo. But the presence of 6 other presidential candidates might force a runoff if no candidate receives a majority of the vote. President Mahama of the National Democratic Congress was elevated to power in July after his predecessor, John Atta Mills, died of illness. The 54-year-old leader has promised to create prosperity with large investments in infrastructure. His main challenger, Akufo-Addo, has campaigned on a promise to provide free primary and secondary education. The 60-year-old candidate is a member of the New Patriotic Party, and he narrowly lost to the late President Mills in 2008. Ghana's 14 million registered voters are also casting ballots for 275 members of parliament, where the NDC currently holds the majority.
Now, for more perspective on the Ghanaian elections, we are joined by Kwaku Nuamah, Assistant Professor of International Peace and Conflict Resolution at American University in Washington. Professor Nuamah, welcome to In Focus.
Thank you, Vincent.
Now, Ghana has organized 5 successful elections since 1992.
That's right.
What is particularly significant about this election?
Well, a number of things. This election is the first that's being held using new voting technology. We were using the biometric machines for the first time, so we're waiting to see how that goes. This is also the first election where the Rawlings factor is going to play a different role. As you know, former President Rawlings, who was the founder of the ruling party, has sort of had a falling out. His wife has started a new party. So I'm waiting to see how the Rawlings factor helps somebody else get elected in this election. There's also a big issue about the economy. This is the first election that Ghana is holding since the oil really came into being. So there's a big question about how the incumbent government has used the oil revenues, and Mahama's actually promised to review procurement laws to allow Ghanaian industries to play a role, because as of now, it's dominated by foreign businesses. Yes. There's also a big question about corruption. China has been playing a major role in Ghana's economic development now.
So I guess that's
coming up. The Chinese companies are influencing elections with donations to the ruling party, and that's become an issue too.
Yes. Now, we know that the 2 major contenders, especially incumbent President Mahama, comes from the northern region of Ghana. The other candidate who is expected to really give him a challenge, Akufo-Addo, he comes from the Ashanti region in the south. To what extent is this going to be a factor in elections?
It's always been a factor in Ghana. And Akufo-Addo is not Ashanti, he's Akin. But he's Akan.
He comes from.
Yes, he's Akan, and that's part of the nature of Ghanaian politics. And ethnicity, we've already seen some of that emerging. But the more important thing to watch is turnout in 4 swing regions. Bronga Hafo region, which is part of Ashanti, Nkrumah sort of divided that as part of his strategy of weakening the opposition. Greater Accra region, where everybody lives in Ghana. But 2 other regions are very important here. Western region, which is where the oil is, and Central region, which is where the former president, Mills, who died, is from, to help the party maintain unity. They picked the running mate for Mahama from the Central region. And so Central region is in play, and these 4 regions have determined the outcome since 2004 in elections. Basically, the other regions vote predictably. But Western region is a crucial place to watch, because the oil revenue has stoked up all kinds of tensions, and the MPP is making promises to give them a special cut of the oil revenue. And Mahama is trying to figure out how to mollify some of the interest in that region. So the ethnic factor has always been there, and it got really ugly as we got closer to the elections. But that's probably not going to be the major, because that's predictable. We know that Ashanti is going to go MPP and Volta region is going to go NDC.
So you would say that in your analysis you've seen a little difference in terms of how they articulated the issues. We know in most African countries, elections are about personalities and regions and tribes. To what extent would you say the parties actually had real platforms, real issues?
There are issues. There's 4 big issues in these elections. 1, economic performance, and to what extent the NDC has used the oil revenue to develop the country. That's on the issue. The next thing, performance of public institutions, public services, so electricity and water. A lot of people don't have water in Ghana. They don't have electricity. Those issues are still being dealt with. The next issue, education and how to pay for it. The MPP has promised free education. But NDC, if you read their manifesto, they've also made some promises. So they've talked about building 200 new high schools and converting polytechnics into universities and building a whole new university. So there's that. And there's healthcare. Healthcare is a big issue because Ghana has a healthcare system, state-run healthcare system, which has almost collapsed under the NDC. And there's debate about how to fix it and whether it's going to come back. And then the last one, yes, and the last one is corruption. As I told you, corruption is a big issue. The Chinese company Sinopec is building a gas processing plant, and there's allegations that the price was inflated. Huawei, the electronic giant, Chinese company, has made donations to the NDC, and some say they've gotten breaks on taxes. The president himself was cited in a report about the prices of aircraft for the military that he sort of was involved in negotiating, so whether he got kickbacks or not. So there's a lot of issues on this.
And with the newfound wealth, this is going to be even more significant.
Yes.
But now, would you say that this also this election places a huge responsibility on Ghana in terms of making an example for the rest of the continent, so that at least hopefully Africa can, for once, get rid of this indignity of always being associated with chaotic elections?
Yes, that's there, but it's not a primary reason why Ghanaians should have free and fair elections. They live in that country, and if something goes wrong, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. So Ghanaians are thinking about this as they go to the polls today. And I was watching the TV this morning, and former President Rawlings was out and about in Accra, and he was urging people to vote. And some of the radio stations and TV stations, everybody's telling people, don't worry. One of the things that can actually create a big problem is the curse of a close election. Okay. And as we've seen, this election is going to be a very close one. And in Ghana, everybody thinks they're going to win.
Oh,
so if you,
in a word, what can you say? What are your predictions anyway?
I think it goes to a runoff. I think it goes to the second round because it's too tight, and those other candidates
we'll
are
be watching that hopefully in 72 hours time.
So.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Professor Nuamah. Kwaku Nuamah is an assistant professor of international peace and conflict resolution at American University here in Washington.